Security for a lot of people can often be taken for granted, and when that security is sometimes lost, it's hard to say who's to blame. In today's society, we have many systems to maintain security, and in Timmins, the main one is our police force. This documentary will take a look at the Timmins Police services and try to create a better understanding of what it is the men, women, civilians, and officers do from day to day to make Timmins a safer place to live.
I believe Sergeant Kelsey gave you a list there, and I'll just go through it again just to confirm it. Daly Jones, it'll be on the 16th, 17th, and 18th.
The morning shift for most officers starts at 7 a.m. with a lineup or briefing. Today we'll be following Constable Randall Treblecock through a typical morning and night shift.
Hey, just check the vehicle over for the tires, any damage to it. Check the trunk. All of our safety equipment's in here. First aid kit and whatnot. And our little teddy bears, Zeddy bears. It's for kids who get to an accident or some type of call where they may be traumatized somewhat. Then we're going to check our lights. Yeah, we're working downtown today, which is the call car. All the south end of town pretty well.
Call car means?
They call you lots. They use you a lot, and you get a majority of the calls, especially on day shift. Just everybody's uptown, and lots of stuff's happening uptown. Shoplifting and whatnot. Thank you. Have a good day.
Thank you.
3 Timmins. West door, please. Have Sergeant come down with key for the meals.
As was soon realized, there's a little more to being a police officer than just chasing criminals and eating donuts. Officers will often find themselves picking up breakfast for the overnight detainees.
I'm down at Tim Hortons on Riverside. Citizen called in that there's a brown Cutlass there. Driver's possibly 235.
10-4. Let me know when you get a plate. 253 is a impaired driver, possible impaired driver. Is that Tim Hortons? Obviously somebody there called it in, saw them get out of the car driving it. So we're gonna go, and if we happen to see the vehicle, we'll stop the vehicle. Or maybe we'll go into Tim Hortons, we'll ask who owns that vehicle and maybe talk to the driver, and he'll be getting a break, I guess. Who's driving the vehicle today? You're not driving, are you?
Nope.
Well, I'll tell you why, because we had a call of maybe somebody was impaired driving this vehicle. And it's a busy Friday morning, lots of traffic. Somebody can get hurt, you know. So maybe we'll leave it here for the day, eh?
It's not a problem at all. That's not a problem, no, none of it.
I've located the driver and his passenger. Both were still under the influence somewhat. They advised to leave the vehicle, lock it up, and pick it up tomorrow. They did so, and they left, probably 10-8 from here.
The board here demonstrates what we've done with restructuring of the Timmins Police Service as of October of last year. We basically put all the police officers back out in the field that we could and divided it up into 4 platoons. Each platoon can be looked upon as a police service on its own merit. Every platoon has the supervisors. Every platoon has the criminal investigators on it. They have the fraud people. They have traffic. They have identification people. They have scenes of crimes officers. And what we did was, instead of having specialists that are basically waiting for their specialty to be called into action, we've been able to, over the years, through training, have all of these specialists identified on the different platoons. Now they work in uniform, all except for the 2 criminal investigators, And if their particular expertise was called on, if we needed an identification person, he is presently out on patrol as a regular uniformed officer. And if his expertise is called on, then he comes off of patrol and he does the immediate identification work that's required. It's working well, and we're seeing some real spin-offs that are cost savings. So that means the kind of city council gets to be happy with us because the costs aren't going up, they're being contained, and yet the policing service has actually increased out in the street.
Essentially, the records section provides all the support staff to the officers. Once they complete the paperwork, it's entered onto our computer system by our data entry clerks. Depending on whether there are any charges resulting from any of the reports, it's entered here. In turn goes to the court office where charges are laid and a brief is produced, and then it goes up to the Crown's office and it follows its natural course of events from there. We also handle requests for pardons. In this section, we enter probation onto CPIC, wanted persons, missing persons, lost property, warrants, things like that. It's quite a busy area. It could go actually 24 hours a day if we had the staff, but we don't. So it's basically 7 hours a day, Monday to Friday. There's a never-ending amount of paperwork in this office.
Court section is the central receiving of all the criminal cases that are due in court, as well as the traffic matters, such as your speeding and your municipal bylaws, car accidents where charges are laid. From there right up to your murder trials, and all those files come through here when it's going to have an appearance in court. So if you get a speeding ticket and you pay it, it won't come into this office until you actually want to request a trial, and then it'll come into this office, and then we process it from there. My duties would be to prosecute those cases only, traffic and municipal charges. My duty is to prosecute those, whereas the criminal matters will be sent over to the Crown Attorney's office for prosecution and dealing with them.
Good day, and how are we?
We're here.
Yeah?
That's about it.
I come in and swear to some subpoenas.
Did you swear that you served the subpoenas on the above named persons and you have not, you personally served them yourself?
Yes, I did.
You've already signed them dated today?
Yes, I did.
Fine, thank you.
Thank you. You keep them, I guess?
Yes, I'll give them to the girls once they're done.
Super. Have a good day.
Great.
Subpoenas are for any major cases that are going to district court, judge and jury, or judge alone to be across the street here on Spruce. Well, the Justice of the Peace just confirms that you did serve them, and you swear to the Justice of the Peace that you did serve them.
You attend at 108 Hemlock at the corner of 6 and Hemlock. We have a working fire.
Therefore,
Your folks can attend and might be
does she live alone? Mrs. What's her name? Do you live in the house as well?
Yeah, I was staying.
Well, now we're just going to direct traffic for a while while the firemen fight the fire. When we got here, we just made sure everybody was out, everybody was safe. There's nobody left in the house, and I personally spoke to everybody that was in the house. 2 boarders downstairs and 1 family living on the main floor. Basically all sharing the house. And once they're all secure and give them a little bit of comfort, you pretty well leave them alone and let them deal with it in their own way. This is one where the personal level comes to bear. You have to be very sensitive with the people. I mean, their house is on fire. You try and support them as much as you can, and keep their spirits up. But it's hard when they're looking at their house burned. So It's a hard part of the job for us.
LR440.
Back of the bus stand, because as soon as they see a cruiser, they run away.
10-4, will do. It's starting a little bit earlier, but this will go on all night. But it's a nightly thing, and I don't know what the city has planned to do with it.
See that girl with the green over there, that big Indian girl?
Yeah?
She's been there for over an hour. They're now waiting. There's buses every 15 minutes. As soon as they see you, they just leave.
Okay, well, I'll go and have a chat with them. Thanks. You guys are hanging around the bus stand?
I'm waiting for a ride. That's what I'm waiting.
Yeah.
I'm waiting for someone to...
You're always there every day, every night.
I'm waiting for my mom.
So can you find another spot to meet? Get hold of your friends? Because you know we're going to be here again tonight.
Well, we won't be here.
No. And tomorrow? Then I'll have to deal with you tomorrow night. Eventually something's going to have to be done, more than just talking to you. Right? Because we're here every night. We're talking to you every day.
No.
Okay? So maybe get hold of your friends and find another spot here. So don't go back to the bus stand.
Find some money. Call them.
Thanks. Same kids that come here every day, and they're here till the bus stand closes, 9, 10 at night, and it gets worse because there's so many kids hanging out here that people waiting for the bus or trying to get on can't get on the bus. Blocks the traffic on the sidewalk.
Up there.
10-4, Cashways?
10-4.
Holy shoot. Well, we have to try and fight the traffic. You don't want to have your sirens on when you're getting too close to the place. It might alert somebody.
I don't even know which one was hit.
Horrible 26, Timmins.
Go ahead.
We're 10-6 here. Everything seems to be okay. It was set off by accident. That's probably the hardest part about police work is your adrenaline gets pumping there and you get out here and it turns out to be a false alarm, and actually about 90% of the time that's what it is, but you have to be prepared and ready to respond and do the right thing. So you take a few minutes and you do your notes and you think about how you would have handled the call if it turned out different.
Okay, what we presently do is we answer all calls, for emergency calls for police, fire, and ambulance. We have 10 full-time dispatchers and 2 part-time dispatchers. There were 24 hours a day. What they are responsible for is answering all calls, but our main function is the 911 calls, with the emergency calls for police, fire, ambulance. What we do then is everything is put on computer. We have hotlines to the fire department, to the hospitals, the ambulance bases, and what we do is dispatch as quickly as possible to a scene. Our dispatch center right now is a little crammed. We have 3 dispatchers that work the day shift, and they are all pretty well on top of each other. We need more room. The facilities are quite dark right now. There's some equipment that is in need of repair, and we are in the process now of adding on to this existing police station. What we're looking at now is getting up-to-date, modern, state-of-the-art equipment so that we can run, hopefully have the best dispatch center in Ontario when we're done.
Well, there is a great deal of stress. We dispatch police, fire, and ambulance, and we intake all 911 calls. We also dispatch ambulance for Gogama, Kirkland Lake, and all the outlying towns around Kirkland Lake. So it can get very busy and very stressful, but you learn to deal with it, and that's why you're hired for the position, if you can handle the stress. And if you find it getting difficult, you have a partner who works with you, and so you share the stress load.
How many 911 calls do you handle each day?
It can be anywhere from 30 to 100
A day?
a day.
How many of those are actual calls?
I'd say about a quarter are emergency calls, and then a lot of times people have a difficult time finding the police number in the phone book, even though it's under P for police. Some of them are non-essential calls that we just refer them back to the police line. And then there's the ambulance and fire. We treat all the calls as emergency though, because you never know. Go ahead.
Second at 1028, 1029, 338, 338 County, 338 County.
10-4, stand by.
Yeah, the dispatchers are basically the vital link to everything that goes on, whether it be with police or ambulance or firemen. Any call that we would go to, they give us the information. We know our lives depend on what they tell us sometimes. We're grateful for it. It's a learned skill. Nobody knows it when they first go in, just like policing. And after a few years of training and on-the-job experience, they become better at it. And the right information's obtained quicker and given to the police officers who can answer the calls. So you can imagine how important it would be for us to get that information, the right address, and exactly what's happening at a location. So we're definitely grateful to what they do for us. We're going on an unwanted guest. We've had previous calls. Dispatchers checked his name on Opact and found out we've had some other calls with him, same type of incidents. And I think normally alcohol was involved in it, so there's 2 cars coming, myself and Constable Van. We're gonna go there and see what the problem is. What's the problem here, Jer?
I'll tell you for the last time, my kids are not scared of me in this house.
Are you gonna listen to me? Hello?
I'll tell you something. My kids are not scared of me in this house.
Your wife told me she was scared.
She is, maybe, but I'll tell you one thing, my children are not scared of me in this house. Ask them kids if they're scared of me. Did you ask
I'm
this?
not going to ask.
Did you ask the kids?
Are you gonna stop arguing with me or what?
No, I'm not. Did you ask the kids if they're scared of me?
Do you want out of here or are you gonna cooperate?
This is my house. Ask the kids if they're
Sir,
scared
I'm
of me.
arresting you for breach of the peace. Okay, now if you'll stand up, you're under arrest.
What am I charged for?
Breach of the peace, sir.
Breach of the peace. Well, when are you gonna let me out?
Tomorrow morning, sir.
No, when I get home,
That's
I need
it.
a lawyer.
That's a situation where you got a domestic and you got to try and act in the best interest of the wife. Obviously, the husband had been out drinking and was in no mood to listening to reasoning or listening to just going to bed, sleeping it off for the night. And it was obvious that if we left there that there was going to be more problems and maybe his wife may have been hurt. He kicked the door downstairs, so has shows some signs of violence already. And in his state, he may hit her or one of the kids. You never know.
Okay, here we go. You don't have to. Man, that'll be good. Hey, what time are you out here?
What time do you go to work?
I gotta go to work at 5 o'clock. I got the business around. I got men coming in.
5 o'clock?
Well, that's what I need. Goes home, gets a little upset with his wife, gets thrown in jail because what?
Okay, guys, my name's Constable Doucette, okay? And the reason why I'm here is Steve Sullivan asked me to come here, all right? Now, the first thing I want you to understand, I'm not going to give you a lecture, all right? What I'm going to show you first off, there's a tape, all right? You guys, the older guys would probably remember, you know Gord McTavish?
Yeah.
Okay, he plays with Philadelphia Flyers now, eh? You know Gord McTavish? And he got drunk one night and went out and killed a woman, okay, on the highway. Okay, he served a year's sentence for that, okay? And well, basically today I'm asked by the chief, sort of public relations officer for my platoon, and they had a program here by Sully Hockey School, if we could come and talk to the kids basically about drug awareness. But what it is, basically, I talk to them about, it's just common sense, you know. you know, some of these kids, they have the ability that they could end up playing professionally, you know, and they could have hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars, nice cars, they have literally everything, and they could blow it all just to get hooked on drugs or alcohol. I'm not going to tell them, don't do it, don't do this. Just use their own common sense. And this is all we're trying to tell the kids, you know. If you try really hard, you can make the pros, but don't blow it. Like, I've been doing this for about 7 years now, 7 to 8 years, in the schools. And I'll be honest, I do it for my own personal satisfaction. I go there always on my days off, and it's personal gratification. You know, I talk to the kids, and you see kids, they look up to us. And they can see us on a more personal level. You know, sure, they see the policeman, but I'll play basketball with them, or I'll play hockey with them, whatever. And it's more, they see that we're just ordinary people. We're no different than their parents. And then once they see that, and we give them important lectures in between, and as long as, you know, they pick up something, that's the important thing. They see we're just like anyone else. We're no different than anybody else. And we have a good time with it. I enjoy it. All right? You have this ability. You could be the best on your team. Okay? But if you use drugs or alcohol, common sense will tell you, if you drink 6 beer or do a couple of lines of cocaine and then you start to play hockey, you're either going to hurt yourself or your teammates. This is basically what I'm trying to get to you, okay? I'm not saying that...
The reason we're out here today is the new semi-automatic pistol that the department has been issued now. We have to retrain everybody into the proper function, the use. And it takes a 3-day course for them to complete. And at OPC at the Ontario Police College, they basically have a quick course. And what we plan on doing is have at least once a year have an update for them to qualify in the use of this pistol. It's important to the police officer because up north we're pretty fortunate we don't have situations we have to use the firearm. So basically it's to keep them on their toes in case they do get into a situation where they'll be able to save their own lives or the life of somebody else.
Second shooter. Go.
The training is very important initially because it's a brand new firearm for the officers. We're used to the old 38. I found out that it's a totally different gun, and it takes different skills to be proficient in the use of the firearm, so the training in that respect is important, because if you don't know the gun, then you won't be safe out there.
Go.
As you can see in this course, what the officer is being developed is he's being able to run with it, shooting with 2 hands, switching to a one-hand shoot, then back to a 2-hand shoot, and then practice his reload. I don't think the public has a total concept as of yet of the difference between the revolver and the semi-automatic pistol. It's something fairly new for us. We've been stuck with the revolver for many, many, many years. And once we're transitioned into this new pistol, I think the public will become more aware. They just have to get away from the concept that it's a more powerful pistol. It's not. It's more efficient. It's like, you know, you buy a car, you know, you always have to update it to have it working properly.
The biggest enemy of an officer is probably complacency. Mm-hmm. You know, they get into a routine where things happen the same way day after day after day, and then they come up on a situation where it's different and a dangerous situation, and they'll be called upon to use their skills that were trained. If you're not training every year, then you're going to be at a point where you're not going to know what to do. So the training is very important to refresh and to practice. And also, once a year, you should, the onus is upon an officer to actually train on his own to save firearms. You qualify once a year. It'd be good to come out and try, you know, shooting off a few rounds on your own time. Basically, what it does is benefits the officer.
Once a year, everybody has to be trained in the use of force. That's mandated by the Solicitor General's office. you're retrained and requalified in your firearms. You're retrained on the use of the pepper spray, the mace. You're retrained on your batons, hand-to-hand combat, vehicle stops, any other safety concerns that may come up within your department. Every department may have a different concern. The training's adjusted to fit and meet those concerns. Every officer goes through it once a year, like I say, and then the gun qualification is twice a year. We just finished in the last month, the last set of officers went through. There's officers that are trained specifically for use of force trainers. So it's members of our own force that have been trained down at the Ontario Police College. And they in turn train our officers on our force. You spend 3 days, 8 hours a day, different types of the training each day. And it's quite extensive, and it's good for everybody. It reminds you to do certain things when you stop vehicles. It trains you on using your baton and how to use it effectively. And as well as the pepper mace spray, we were having a problem with the overspray. Some of the officers were moving in too fast. That point was keyed in on the training, and everyone's more aware of it now because it's getting used more, and it's becoming an effective tool for us to use. It's a chemical reaction with the skin that makes it hard for you to open your eyes, such as this fellow who was arrested for assaulting police. He had to be sprayed to be contained. Once he was sprayed, he went to the ground, and we were able to handcuff him and bring him into the office. And as you see now, he's getting decontamination, which is just water on the eyes. And eventually the burning will stop, and he'll be able to open his eyes within 10 or 15 minutes. As you can tell, it's quite effective. Timmins Police. She okay? What's going on? Can you take her home somewhere? Where are you living? You can't sleep here. This is somebody's house here. Hey, hello. Okay, come on, you come over here, Archie. Okay, have a seat in there. Well, you got two people sleeping in the backyard of somebody's place, and they got nowhere else to go. Obviously intoxicated, you have no choice but to bring them in. It gives them a place to sleep, and they can sleep it off there. 10-4, Junior?
10-4.
She's known to police. We've had previous incidents with her. She is someone who consumes alcohol on a regular basis. Occasional drug user. But irregardless, every time you go to a call, it's you treat them fairly, regardless of their past, and act on the facts at hand, I guess, for each call.
I've got the baby downstairs.
Oh, you have the baby there?
I'm babysitting the baby.
And is it her child?
No, she's the grandmother, that's all.
Oh, okay. So
she doesn't live here.
You're looking after the baby then?
Yeah.
Okay, so
I just heard the crash bang. I live downstairs, and I come up, and she punched two of them in the face there, and
okay.
She's a real idiot. So I'm scared for Junior.
For Junior? The Junior's downstairs?
No, he's there. He's in there. He's the 4-year-old.
Hello. Hi. How are you?
Not too bad.
And who's supposed to be babysitting tonight?
Maybe about 400 aged children babysitting.
Yeah?
And they're not babysitting. These are my grandchildren, and they're not babysitting.
You're in no shape to be babysitting, Linda?
We'll bring
This
her,
is
we'll
my
bring her to the car,
grandson.
then we'll go and speak to her.
Yeah, hang on.
Okay, come on,
Linda?
let's go.
Okay.
Jesus.
Kids were smoking a joint in the house. When she went in, and they were looking after her 4-year-old, so she got upset, kicked them all out, and ended up hitting 1 or 2 of them. The kids say they weren't smoking anything. Linda just came in and hit them. And then when we tried to get her to leave, because she's in no shape to look after any kids, especially a 4-year-old, she started to resist and was going to end up fighting with us, so she was arrested for the time for a breach. And now, after getting more information, it's obvious that some form of an assault took place, so Constable Martin will be reading her rights for an assault and charging her with that.
23 Timmins.
I've always wanted to be a policeman. I always enjoyed dealing with people. I always enjoyed the excitement of what policemen do. I can't see myself doing anything else, really. I worked in the mines and construction, and that never really appealed to me. And then I always thought policing would be my forte, and I'm glad I'm a policeman. I love it.
Not bad compared to last week.
How was that? Did you get that fatal all cleared up?
Yeah. Well, cleared up enough now. It's just charges are pending, so.
Yeah. How'd the family take it when you talked to them?
Well, I never got a chance to talk to them. We phoned down to Niagara Falls.
Oh, yeah.
Got the force down there to talk to them.
Yeah.
But they took it really bad. They wanted details, and they flew up that night. They flew up, and the family, the driver flew up, and so they apparently took it pretty bad.
Oh, the pictures were gruesome.
Pictures were bad.
Yeah. Well, he was just a young guy, wasn't
he? Yeah, he was 24.
Yeah.
Which is the sad part, because, I mean, an accident like that should never have happened.
No.
You know, it's a speed thing, and...
No, it's a sad
That
sad
makes
thing
it that
for
makes
sure.
it worse. You know, it could have been avoided probably.
Right.
And it wasn't. For some reason, it doesn't affect me at all. And I bet you before I would have started on this job and seen some of these pictures, I'd have said, like, you know, God, I can't handle this, but you know how it is.
Yeah.
It just, like, this job just makes you cold.
It does.
And you have to be. And yeah, and you have to be to a point, because if you don't, you'll never...
Oh yeah, your skin gets thick,
yeah.
and it
Oh yeah.
grows layers.
and you'll never, like, you know, a lot of guys wouldn't be able to handle it if they didn't grow that thick layer of skin or whatever. But
oh yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'd like to report theft from vehicle and willful damage to vehicle.
Well, I'm waiting for this 28 or 29 on this fellow to come back.
Charged, failed to comply with disposition, is on probation for theft under. Conditions are to report as and when required, keep the peace and good behavior. Is also charged with possession of stolen property and breach of probation. He has a curfew from 10 p.m. to 7 a.m. and abstain from alcohol and drugs.
Hey, you're under arrest for breach probation?
Hey? I'm under arrest for breach.
Yeah.
I was not aware that I had a...
Okay, put your cigarette down. Put your cigarette down.
Oh, see you, Sean.
Okay. After charging with breach of probation, a breach of recognizance, and we're going to have to hold him for a bail hearing for Monday morning. So the paperwork's got to be done before I go home, so that the person coming in to do the typing to get ready for the bail hearings Monday can do it up today.
Even though his shift officially ends at 7 a.m., Constable Treblecock finds himself working overtime to complete the paperwork started in his shift.
Yeah, another 12-hour shift, and at the end you get involved in something, you end up with theft from vehicles and breach probation, breach recognizance. There's a bunch of property we have to tag, and the paperwork has to be done in order for this fellow to go for his bail hearing tomorrow morning. So this paperwork will be done before I go home, which should be around 11 o'clock, I guess, this morning.
In the facilities that we have right now, it's a recognized need that the building itself is totally inadequate, and that's been identified in a number of studies. It's certainly agreed upon between all the parties involved, which includes City Council, and it's a matter of addressing a need that's been a problem for over 23 years now. As you know, at amalgamation, the City of Timmins was operating with 35 people out of this building. Currently, we operate with close to 100. And we're very proud of what, under the adverse conditions we've been working for a lot of years, we're very proud of what the service can do. And we're looking forward to any of the improvements that are made in and around the building, not for the police officers that work here for so much, but for the general public. And I think that that's the most important thing. When the public come in to deal here, they have a right to be treated with dignity, respect, and they have a right to that privacy. And I think that those are the areas that we're really looking to improve. I think that the main thing about the public and the police interacting together is that there's no police force that is any better than the citizens contributing to the police are. It takes the citizen to be actively interested in this community and being the eyes and ears for the police departments. Regardless of how efficient and how much we train our personnel, it still boils down to getting the information from the public to the police. They're the ears, the eyes, and basically what they don't want to see happening in their community, they have to let the police service know, and the police service have to work jointly and cooperatively with the public and news media in seeing that our city becomes a city that's policed by every one of us, not just the 73 members of a police force that are basically out there. That's only 73 sets of eyes. We've approximately got a population getting close to 50,000 people, and you can see yourself that 50,000 people being the eyes and ears for what they want to see in policing in Timmins certainly will improve the community and keep it a safe community.